Okay. There's a bakery around the corner, and I've always wanted a cupcake from there. But I'm not going to spend $8 on a single cupcake, so I just ignore it. But on my walk home, I can't stop thinking about it. I don't know, it's like a weird craving that just never goes away.
All right. And we are now live. Okay. We have to, well, hello, Catherine. It is good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Yeah, I was wondering if you were going to be able to make it this afternoon or this evening. Were you able, did you watch your block? It was basically you and that one feature.
I did. I actually had to do a phone call in the middle of the feature. So I saw the first 20 minutes and the last 20 minutes. So I had a great time trying to piece together what the rest of the film is. I might get a pass.
Good luck with that. I was hoping that the any of the producers or the director would be able to show up, because the comment in my mind as watching it, obviously I've watched it before, but watching it again was, yeah, it's a very bizarre story that felt normal, which is, yeah, it's just kind of you didn't see anything coming. It was just it blended together not so many, but enough diverse enough genres that you wouldn't think they blended pretty well together and made a decent story. It was a universal story underneath all of anything from the comedy to the gay community to the activist community to relationships. It was pretty crazy. Yeah. So you just saw like the for me, unanticipated payoff at the very, very end. If you know what I'm talking about. I just happened to
I got but I left about when the house was getting foreclosed, and I came back in when there was something about blood and a mystery, and he ran to a girl, and then the girlfriend from the beginning came back, and I was like, there's a lot I missed in the middle. So whole character introduction.
Well, this was more of a slow bleed opposed to yours, which was an abrupt cut to, whoa, dancing with cupcakes. It was like, okay, if you've been in any kind of major relationships, you're having this talk in bed and things are kind of weird and weird feelings going on. And then all of a sudden, cupcake dancing. Opposed to this one was like, okay, my girlfriend broke up with me. She's a total yucky person. I met this new person and we're totally fighting all the time, which leads into, romantic conflict and the sexual tension, and we're activists and someone gets murdered. It's a murder mystery thriller. And then all of a sudden want to have a threesome in a van at the very end. Didn't see that coming. Though as a dude, I enjoyed it. I have to represent. Thank you for joining us this evening. I'm glad you came a little bit later. I thought at this point I might have actually cut off, so I'm glad I just kept the camera going.
I had to sign up for a lot of platforms today, and there was just one more, and I was trying to get the last bit typed in. It was like for this beautiful spaces where people get to like sit together virtually.
You mean there are others? It's not just NovaFest? That's okay. That's cool.
No, it was everything for NovaFest. I had to sign into. I just got off a month-long project that was insane for a corporate thing, and today was literally my first day of freedom. So I was going through the NovaFest emails. I had to get my awards passed today, so I had to sign up for that account. I had to get my Filmocracy account today. I had to get the Remo account to get into this today. So.
Oh well, that's totally different.
Yes, it's all for you.
You get gold stars today. Easy. Okay. You win. Well, let's get into it with your film. Obviously, we are now 007 years in, so we do get returning Nova alum, and it's a double. I think I've mentioned this a couple times in some of the panels, or maybe even at the sub part of the alum coming back. And the bittersweetness is like, oh, great, it's cool. There, it's Catherine, it's this X, Y, and Z, Joe, Jane, what have you. But it's like, oh my gosh, I hope their stuff is good, because if it's good, that's easy. If it's not, and it's happened, it's already, over the years it's happened, but now it's a thing. If it doesn't make the cut this year, I feel absolutely horrible. But it won't stop me. But we've rejected some films from past alumni before, and every year is different. Every year is different. What got in year 2 may not get in year 6. What got in year 007 may or may not get in year 10. It depends on everything that comes in this year. And I'm so happy that I held my nose and I watched yours. Not that yours was stinky, but like, please be good, please be good, please be good. And it was good. I mean, your first one was really good too. It just the level of professionalism, I don't know if that's the best word for it, but the production value, the cinematography on this one was great too. Obviously for the one scene that just, again, didn't see that contrast coming. And spoilers, I don't know if it's so much spoiler. If you missed it, you missed it. You can still watch it. You can still order VOD to watch it the rest of the week. But the again, alluded to the Cupcake dancing scene. It was ludicrous, but so beautifully well shot that you say, okay, I buy it. Who wrote this? Where did this come from? Again, the real quick setup, if you didn't watch it yet, it's a couple having relationship talk, and she's having trouble, without getting too much detail, talking about sexuality, we'll just put it that way, and asked him to describe what it was. And his description was an $8 cupcake. And then all of a sudden we see him dancing with a ballerina cupcake. And then it all makes sense after.
I don't know if you've
from that explanation.
I wrote this,
Who wrote this?
And I will preface it with I wrote it while I had COVID. So
I don't know if that's cover, because a lot of people had COVID.
I guess
and they didn't
so,
write
but
cupcake ballet dancing.
So I was at Sundance 2020, where I caught a very vicious case of COVID before we even believed it was in the United States. And there was a lot of talk about the Sundance Ignite program. And I was like, you know what? It's very hard to get into Sundance, but this seems like a more side door if you're under a certain age to kind of do that. So I was like, you know what? I've got a few weeks. I'll go try it. I was thinking about things that were from communities I cared about, because I don't think of myself as like, I don't have any communities. I'm not a part of anything. And so I was thinking a lot, like, recently during that asexual representation is not something we see in film, and we don't really talk about how that affects your life. It's called the invisible orientation for a lot of reasons, but one of them is because it doesn't really affect people until they're in a relationship, and it's not something that's seen and you can go out in public and live the rest of your life, but you're not really as persecuted for it so much. But it is a difficult in the sense that a lot of people don't believe it's real. And I was thinking, like, well, why aren't we talking about this? And I got very sick, and I wrote it and I executed it in like a fury of like 6 weeks. And I'm editing it, and my friend's like, this sounds just so much like you when you write it. And I had this like clear epiphany that this was actually about my life. So I didn't even process it. Like, there was parts of dialogue that were like things that had come up in my own life, and it was just really weird to realize that when I was sort of in like this haze trying to get this project on a deadline, that I didn't even realize what it was actually deeply tied to.
I've been doing this for a little while now, and I get to know people personally. We don't know each other that personally, but there are definitely lines and pieces of dialogue I can see in films where I'm like, this person doesn't have that good an imagination. This is them talking about themselves or somebody they know. Just very unique, very original and authentic at the same time, that it'd be hard to believe that it was out of pure imagination, at least consistently. So So was this kind of lightning in a bottle? You just felt the energy and then wrote it out in
Yeah.
hallucinogenic sick mode?
I really committed to
Or
it because, as
okay,
you know from my other stuff, I'm very much the period drama girl, and I was like, I gotta, I gotta do something in the contemporary world sometime that I can shoot relatively on a humanly attainable schedule. And I was like, well, this is something I care about, and I thought it was a cool idea. And I've really been, the more you make films and the more you work on it, the more you realize that, like, not everyone goes to film school, but everyone goes through a certain level of training where you're taught to do X, Y, and Z to have a good film. But
right?
that sometimes discludes your own voice, which is just another way to describe your personality.
Hmm.
And so I was doing things that I cared about, but I was doing it in a very sort of, I would say, stylistic to what I enjoyed, but it wasn't it's all, everything we make has a bit of like our personality and our taste in it, but it wasn't as so much as to my personality of, like, interact with people who were close to me. So this is very much my weird sense of humor where we can have some intense, start kicking you in the face with some uncomfortable moments, and then just have like a weird bit of humor to process things, because that's kind of how my brain works in many senses. Is you're in something serious and your brain's just processing something entirely ridiculous to help cope with it, if that makes any sense.
But then you got better, where you weren't hallucinating any longer and your mind wasn't cluttered with some kind of fever. And then you went back and then you looked at this thing you wrote and you said, I'm
Yeah.
going to produce this. This is going to be on the
you know
screen. So what was that moment like? Like, yeah, of course I'm going to do it. Or like,
I
whoa,
was
was
like
I sick?
I
Which,
I was
which
like,
one?
whoa, I was sick, but this is kind of hilarious, so we should just keep going with this because I've never made anything like
Okay.
this.
So are you stretching yourself as an
I would
artist?
say
Is that what you're saying?
certainly yes.
That
This
would be
is,
what,
I don't, everything I've made up until this point is something wrapped in something else to not be so personal and vulnerable. But I would say this one is very much in
mhm.
a little bit more closer to home, and like the amount of vulnerability. Like I still watch this one and I'm like, ooh, this is uncomfortable for me to watch, sort of thing. And I hope that that was the goal, is anyone can start watching this and feel wildly uncomfortable for the first few seconds.
Okay. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Are you saying that you don't feel uncomfortable? I won't say at all, but to some kind of extreme degree when you see your film up on the big screen or people watching it next to you, whether it's at home or
Oh,
in a big theater?
I think that this one especially is very uncomfortable. But
No, I understand, but it's that you're saying it like almost like it's the first time. Are you saying with your other films, like when you screened at Nova and on the big screen, physical brick and mortar, you're
oh,
not
a little
nervous or
nervous.
feeling
Yeah,
vulnerable?
always a little nervous. But by the time in the before times, that was maybe the second or third time I got to see it on a screen. So you're able to sort of walk yourself through about what's about to happen, and more
Okay.
so kind of feel out what the audience is about to kind of feel in the beats. Like my favorite one was the last time I actually got to screen for Nova Fest. I heard a woman in the audience like gasp at a certain point, and I was like, at the right moment. And yeah, that's a fun part of being a person.
I was just yeah, we're just chatting here. Like for me, my favorite parts, it's been so long now, but when my stuff's on the big screen, where I get the thrill is when everybody's quiet. That means that
Oh,
they're
they're in it.
engaged, and I'm even getting goosebumps right now, going like, I gotcha, I did it. Whether you come out at the end of this, I really liked it, I really hated it, whatever your opinion of it is, I gotcha, I gotcha. You were engaged, and that's the win
Yeah.
for the day. Um, so, but otherwise, don't get me wrong. That's why it caught my attention when you said, "Oh, this time I felt vulnerable." This time, because when I throw my stuff
It's a
up
different
there,
kind.
I totally feel like,
It's a much deeper, personable. Like I still usually, when I've made something and I've watched it so many times, I get to a certain point where I'm kind of numb to my own thing. It's like, yes, I made this. I see what's wrong in every shot. La la la.
okay, now you're talking my language. But yeah, other times for me, it's like, for not other times, but just yeah, it's I don't know if this is the pervy anecdote to it, but it's like the trench coat drops and you're just sort of standing there and you're um I think I forgot what filmmaker, it may have been Kevin Smith or something. It just, when you, what people see, I'm going to butcher this, but you'll get it. What people see on the big screen is what you see in your own
Mm.
mind, or what you envisioned. So it's there's like yeah, there's definitely a vulnerability to, like, you're actually exposing yourself internally. Not It's not even your heart, your soul, it's all of them sort of all wrapped together, and everybody's looking. Everybody's looking, and I know it's a unique experience if no one's ever been able to produce something on to whatever degree scale, and to have people, you can't help but think they're being judgy. You can say, I don't care what people think, or you do care, but there's always some level of
Yeah. Oh,
anxiety, I
certainly.
guess.
Yeah.
So with this one, you were on
Oh,
steroids of
oh yeah,
anxiety.
yeah. Because like I was saying, like usually it's wrapped in another layer, so I'm able to think a little differently about it. But this one was kind of directly from the fever brain that I decided to keep going with, and like a more very personal place. So yeah.
So how was that communicating it to your actors, the female lead specifically? Like, did you have any special instruction for her direction?
Trying to think back. Wow, it's been a while now. I think we really spent a lot of time, me and the two actors, like getting to know each other in as people, to really feel a sort of vulnerability with each other, and talking about discomfort in the relationships we had. Neither of my actors were asexual, but we talked about like what it was like to feel that fear of loss and have that vulnerability, and the moment where you feel like something is about to change and you really don't want to brace it. And that's where we sort of came from in that point.
You definitely got the vibe of, again, that the pillow talk, uncomfortable, just relationshipy conversation when you've been together for a little bit longer. So yeah, thanks for making us all uncomfortable. But you made us feel. That's the point. How long did it take you to shoot everything, get it all in the can?
Over a weekend. So yeah.
Oh, wow. You did both scenes
Yes.
over a
Yeah,
weekend.
we did.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah, we did the Cupcake in, let me go in chronological. We shot in a beautiful warehouse in DC, that had all their stuff canceled because I filmed this March 7th. And by the time I was in
Oh, wow. Right before.
post, the world had closed. So everything was like, oh yeah, you can come in and spend a few hours. All our stuff got canceled because, it looks bad to be doing things when the world is getting nervous. So yeah, got to go shoot in this beautiful warehouse. And then I had a lovely friend who let me use their apartment when we went over there, and it was daylight savings. So we actually lost an hour on set, which is kind of a set's worst nightmare.
Well, you were indoors
Yes,
though,
but
right? Yeah. So
when it was 2 a.m., when we were an hour behind, now we got to jump forward. It was 3 a.m. It was actually 3 a.m. So
3 a.m.
we were like, yeah, it was a bit of a rough night in the sense that our timetable was a little off, but we still were able to get what we wanted out of it. So that's the beautiful part about knowing your script backwards and forwards, is that if it doesn't go totally to plan, you can find some other things to kind of bounce around with it.
So you're a bit of a slave driver. You just we're pushing your huskies
I'm actually
beyond
too
their limits.
flexible to a point sometimes, because we actually took a while to get our first shot up because our wonderful DP, Andrew Capino, was like, I can get this a little better if you give me like 20 more minutes. I was like, okay.
Man, I think you voiced a voice that I think every director has heard somewhere from their DP. Like, if you just give me an hour, give me 20 minutes, because the reverse is, we need to shoot this in like 15 or 20 minutes. It's going to take me an hour to shoot to light. Like, you got, it's like a old school Star Trek. We need warp speed in 20 minutes, Scotty. It'll take an hour. No, the other way. It'll take an hour to fix this. We need it in 15 minutes. We're all dead. But I had a thought. I can't. I lost it. So was it apartment one day, warehouse
No, it was
second day?
it was
pure
warehouse morning, apartment evening, night. Cupcake Bakery the next morning.
Oh, totally. Yeah, totally phased out
Well,
on
it
that.
was 20 seconds, you know.
Oh, wow. Anything, so at the end of the production or even post-production, when you finally saw the final cut and, maybe you saw it a couple times and were able to step away from it. Any thoughts or takeaways from that?
You know, I am very much a planner where I try to make sure that I have every shot planned out in my head and every detail, and it will take me months and months to have something ready. And I think that, not that this will succeed every time, but sometimes the value of just pushing yourself to go for something is quite surprising, because everyone will watch their film and be like, there's things that can be changed and there's things that can be better. But the peer pressure to make myself have a deadline for a competition was amazing, because usually I can tend to overthink things about time and space, and I busted this out essentially because of having a time limit for myself and pushing myself to get it done.
So essentially, you're outing yourself as a control freak.
Yeah, I think all people
And
in
I only
production and a head of a department can be a little bit that way.
I only recognize that because we're on the same team. That's all I'm saying. Because as you talk, it's like, I've heard this. Where have I heard this? So, oh yeah, that's what people have. I think there was an actual conversation where I was talking about production, where someone was outside of the film business and they didn't know X, Y, and Z. And I explained that this, that, and the schedule and light and the catering and all of that, it's got to be precise. And I pride myself on being on time, if not early. And they said, so basically you're a control freak. And without missing a beat, I looked him in the eye and said,
We
yes,
are, but it's only
yes,
because
I
we're
am.
so passionate about what we get to do every once in a while. We want it to go as perfect as possible.
I'll go with that. It has to be our way now.
We've been practicing for so long. It's now our time.
Well, I bore my friends to death. I go by one maxim. I go by several, but one of my main maxims is in that driving ourselves is that it comes from my martial arts experience, is cry in the dojo, laugh on the battlefield. So, pre-production is king. Just work it, envision it, outline it, get your shot list, etc. So by the time, don't get me wrong, that's what I say beforehand, but then when we start shooting, you're ready for magic or a moment of discovery, or something you didn't plan on shooting, but wow, that really worked well. But just keeping, always having one eye on your watch or the clock, going, okay, we're on schedule or behind schedule. But when it's time for action, it's just all follow through, and yeah, that's supposed to happen. Yeah, the rockets go off here, you kiss here, you slip on the banana there. Yeah, that's, yeah, and there shouldn't be, keep the drama on the screen, but not on set, basically. I have a friend who started their own production wardrobe line, and I yet to contribute, but I believe one of the T-shirt hats they have is we'll fix it in
pre.
we'll fix it in pre. I mean, I know that's a quote that's been out there, but but I think we're there. We're producer minded in that respect. So also, how much of this was all Catherine, and how much of it was cast, crew, executive producers, assistants? Was it a team of one and two? Because I know you had a DP, but did you have like
no, it was a whole
entourage?
entourage, and I literally could not have done it without them. We had I try to replicate as much of a full set as I can, even if people pull multiple jumps. But we had a sound designer, sound op. He was one in there. On there,
Awesome.
We had DP. We had a lot of lovely Mason students be camera assistant and camera team, so they got to do some learning on set, for narrative, and get to help out our DP with lights and camera equipment. And then we had a couple others who were PAs who got to help. We had makeup, and then I did everything else. I was producer, I was costume, I did props, I did equipment junk,
Continuity, script supervisor. Nice shout out to George Mason University, by the way.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. It's just funny because the panel we had earlier with a feature-length documentary, we were following the frontman for Fishbone, Angelo Moore, and for me, it is a documentary, but for me, the production value was pretty high considering, as you can imagine, it's following a rock star, so there are going to be a lot of low light, not a combination of low light environments, but also sound is going to be have to be run and gun. It's not you're not on a sound stage, you're not controlling everything, and the sound was very crisp and clear, and so was the visual. So I believe I threw this a very similar question out there. But at the same time, her answer was the opposite of yours. Essentially, she's like, "No, it's just me," and I'm just wow. So it's interesting. People, different filmmakers processes through that. So have you just started your run with this, putting it out there? Are you
This is a
halfway
halfway through.
through?
Yeah.
Was it limited? Okay. What are you finding so far? As far as festivals you're getting into, or even just applying? Is it the process different from very different from your experience in the past, or you're just you're
I'm going
going
with
with the
the
flow,
flow.
rolling the punches?
I started submitting this again in March, and a lot of festivals, a couple that I'm an alumni of, they left their applications open for a whole other year. So it was like twice the entries. And, like you were saying, like a lot of people had some time in early quarantine to do some work. So they had, twice the things. And there were also, other alumni, other voices that were like we hadn't heard from yet. So a lot of different people made it into festivals. So not so much with, some standard ones that I'm familiar with, but I've been in a couple new ones this year. So that's been exciting.
Yay. Awesome. Do you, I'm just curious, random question here. Do you submit mostly domestically, US, Canada, or do you, have you thrown them out there to different
I've thrown them out to different
foreign
foreign
courts
ones.
as well?
I feel like this is kind of niche topic in the sense that I don't know if this is what a lot of international festivals are looking for yet to bring audiences, as a lot of them are still kind of working through, to phrase this, early stage LGBTQ stories with a lot of, I would say, like coming out and coming to terms with your family sort of topics, that this is a very, very niche specific one that I don't know if that's what their audience they're looking for yet. So
I'd say yours is it's definitely broader than that community. Again, just the cinematography from the warehouse scene. I think that no one's going to go watch that because it has gay, lesbian, whatever. There's no nuance or context to that. It's just it's a well shot scene, so you maybe want to be drawn in to know what the story is behind that, because again, there's the beauty and the absurdity of it right at the same time. And shameless plug, this is maybe subconscious. I didn't set it up this way because I are producing 10 new festivals within the next 2 years, 5 of them domestically, and then 5 of them internationally. And for example, one is in Crete, Greece, and they just announced that they're opening up tourism back again in the summer 2021. So each city, country is different. Greece's #1 import is tourism, and then olives or olive oil, whatever, very distant second. So they're under different economic pressures to open up their world to tourism in general. So along with that, the businesses, the domestic, the other cities we're producing events in, festivals in across the U.S. One's in Dallas, they're open. One's in San Diego, Southern California. California's closed. Miami's wide open. Surprisingly, Atlanta's closed. So it's again, no real agenda behind that, but in asking where you've submitted or what you're feeling right there. I think really it's still going to be a bit of the wild, wild west.
Yeah.
I know as a blanket statement for us, anything we're producing 2021, no matter, so we're not susceptible to where the wind blows. It's going to be purely virtual in 2021. No exceptions, even if the world, a cure for every disease known to man and woman forever until the end of time has been discovered in June. We're still going to stick with virtual probably for the rest of the year. Then 2022, we'll see. My plan is that we definitely keep it virtual screening, but I plan on having live awards events with people coming in because it crosses so many streams between business, business commerce and government law, and really all the different filmmakers have different views or feelings on travel. I know some filmmakers, and I'd be curious to know yours, just to get your take. Some filmmakers are very, not even whatever, stronger than concerned. They won't travel domestically, let alone go into a theater yet. So that obviously absolutely works into whatever the bottom line is if we rent out theaters, so to speak. And you don't have to answer this question again. This is just a random question. Like, where are you right now? Would you be able? Would you have enjoyed where we are right now on April 14th? Would you have enjoyed watching this in the at the Angelic again in a brick and mortar theater? Or are you not quite there yet? There isn't really a right wrong answer.
I don't think I'm quite there yet, to be honest, because, we're hearing a lot of positive news about the amount of vaccinations we're getting, but when you scale it back, it's like only 20% of the population. And in the end, we're getting a lot more casual, which I think could be like a little bit hazardous. So I would love to go to a movie theater. I haven't been to one since I was at Sundance, and it was not a good movie. And so it's kind of a sad taste to leave in your mouth. Be like, oh, the last movie I saw in a theater was terrible. But yeah, no, I think that's honestly a good call to be more cautious and do online. And I think online's, there's pros and cons to it, but I do think it opens it up to like more people to get to come and see things, and then they get to come back when it's back in person again.
Well, a little secret, just since it's just you and me, and this is recorded and will be broadcast to all the internets. Because I do have my special VIP card, bragging a little bit with the Angelica, because I do business there, and so I get my movies for free, and I have a +1. In the last 5 months or so, I think I've been to 3 films. There, I've gone to the theater, but the big ones, where we have our award ceremony with the 300+ seats. Like,
I think there would be nobody. And when I got vaccinated part 2 today, so in like 2 weeks, I am gonna go get a movie.
All right. But yeah, I think I saw Wonder Woman 84. I just saw King Kong a week or 2 ago, and then somewhere in the middle, I saw Empire Strikes Back when they threw some retro films in there. And there wasn't. I think one of those, there was definitely nobody. Maybe it was Wonder Woman, or maybe it was Empire Strikes Back. Point being, if there were any people in there, there might have been 2, maximum 3. And again, if you can imagine a 300-person.
I've actually done that once in the Angelica. Theater. I went on what was the Days of Movie Pass, where you could go and swipe your movie, whatever you wanted, for like a whole month. It was like $15, and you got free movies. And my brother and I went to Love, Simon on a Wednesday night, and it was me and him in the theater, so I know exactly what that's like.
Yeah, and again, even with the Angelica, that's just one theater. Their schedule has changed their screenings has changed so many times. There's a point when they started opening up, and it was just Saturday and Sunday. Then at one point they were open up every day. I was like, oh, okay. Then I was thinking, oh, I'll watch King Kong or whatever. And then I found out, because we shot our pre-recorded awards ceremony at the Angelica. We had it was on a Tuesday. We had the whole entire theater to ourselves to shoot, which was cool. But then I found out later on that they opened it up. Then they were having Tuesday through Sunday screenings, but literally a week or 2 before that, it was only Thursday through Sunday. So it's just too radical right now. And who knows if states open up, then they close back down, then they open up and limit things. So it's an interesting space, but there are opportunities abound. One definite negative, not to necessarily put it out there, it was mentioned earlier that, and I'll keep preaching it because I do miss it. It's great talking to you right now and seeing you, but it's you know, it's a tap, 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 tap. It's a, you know, it's a screen. It's not like a nice, you know, reunion embrace, you know, like we haven't seen each other in years. And then we just, yeah, yap it up, chat, chat. Remember when? Oh, isn't it cool now? A cupcake, really? You know, and just you being each other's face, having those conversations. You can't replicate that magic. Again, the old routine started kicking in. I had two filmmakers in the last panel that didn't know each other. Excuse me, didn't know each other. But I was absolutely pushing. It's like, oh, okay, well, this person lives in Hollywood and he knows a lot of people. You two should, like, you know, mix it up and talk. And right now, are you friends, or have you met Cora
I met
and
them
Spencer by chance?
whatever the last physical festival I was at. Yeah.
Okay. Well, our last one was 2019. Well, because they are big Sundance people. I don't know if you had enough
I did.
time to
Yeah, we
interact
actually chatted
and,
about that. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because annoyingly, they keep talking about it all the time. But no, just kidding. But yeah, that's a major part of their lives, and it's like, oh, you've mentioned it a couple times, because it warms my heart. And again, a little bit of bragging rights, where I've had people from NovaFest who meet at Cannes, and they don't know each other at all, and somehow in the conversation where they just met, they'll talk about, oh yeah, I was in NovaFest 2015. I was in NovaFest 2017, and like. And that's their only connection, and they're talking about, you know, film stuff. And man, ain't that cool?
Yeah, you actually introduced me to someone, Katie Culligan at NovaFest 2018, and we're still writing a TV pilot together after all that time. So
I want to see it. Where is it? Put it up now.
Click, click, click.
I get excited when filmmakers tell me, you know, producers, and sorry, I put titles and post saying Catherine.
No, it's cool.
You know, when you guys tell me, like, oh, we started a project. Like, I don't see it now, but we haven't written the screenplay, and we just went location scouting today. I don't care. I want to see it right now. It's so cool. Okay, well, I'll lead that into a follow-up question for the evening. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know it's late. What are you working on? Is that what you're working on now, or you have multiple projects? What's going on, Catherine?
I am working on what's my log line? Pirate dark comedy. It's about two rival pirates who get trapped below decks during a ship siege, and they actually learn that they're both women in disguise.
I'm sorry. Wait, time to rewind. I'm sorry, what kind of pirates are we talking about? This didn't sound like...
Yeah, like early 1700s pirates. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you had said another adjective there. Okay.
Dark comedy about pirates.
Dark comedy about pirates. That doesn't seem like a stretch, actually. I could see that. Where were you hallucinating on this one too?
Absolutely,
or this is
purely imagination. This is slightly based on history. It's about Anne Bonny and Mary Read, how they met for the first time.
Okay, so it's straight up 17th century then.
Yeah.
Okay, you know, you're breaking one of the two rules, right? That you're supposed to break if you can. You know, don't do period pieces. Because you don't want them wearing a Swatch watch in the middle of the cowboy scene or whatever, and don't work with children or animals.
No children and animals, not yet. But no, yeah.
See now I have a whole host of questions in the back of my head, like, oh, where's your location? Are you going to medieval time?
So
where are you going to get the...
Right now it's looking like possibly there's a ship in Baltimore or Jamestown, but I have still working on some funding for that one, hoping to shoot like late August, early September on that one but we gotta not lock in the location yet, but possibly Jamestown, possibly Baltimore. Yeah.
Sweet. Is this something with
totally
Katie,
different, totally separate, independent?
Nice.
Yeah, no, it's mostly below ship decks, which is how I save myself from being period crazy. But yeah.
Okay. Now I don't know why I'm imagining Katie in like a swashbuckling wardrobe. Yeah, big hat and what is it called? What does Seinfeld call it? The big shirts, the fluffy shirts.
I don't remember.
I don't know. Sometimes I worry about putting references out there that don't necessarily date me, but they just make me sad. When I put a pop culture reference, you think that someone would know, but people even into their mid-30s, it
No,
was
it's my
before their
parents
time, and that makes
didn't
me
love the Seinfeld.
so
I
sad.
watched literally like early TV land as a child, all the way up to like 90s shows. I was very TV versed, but they didn't like Seinfeld. That was the one I don't. They didn't like Seinfeld. They didn't like Friends.
Those were the
Yeah,
kings
no,
of the 90s.
they were rewatching Love Boat and I Dream of Jeannie.
Well, you know what? I can't hate on that. That's I still watch just you and me talking, right? So nobody else hears. I watch a lot of the Me TV, so the Gilligan's Islands and Gunsmokes and Love Boats. I it's both nostalgic and it's kind of interesting as someone who has what do I know, but some experience in the filmmaking TV production world to be able to in my imagination step back and wow, this is a set. That's not actually a Captain Stubing's cabin or Richie and the Fonz. They're on set. That's not a real living room, or the whole host of them. But then again, at the same time, appreciate the rich writing and the delivery of the character actors at the time, which not being poo-poo, but I wish there was more of that now. A lot of the films now don't have the same. It's a different era, but some of the heart. I miss the heart that they'd have, and back then everybody here is so antsy.
Yeah, it's very interesting because
Not
people like I
everybody.
was rewatching like maybe a month ago Little House on the Prairie with my mom, and
Yes.
that show goes on for so long. And Melissa Stewart starts as a child and ends like almost as an adult. And we don't have TV that goes on that long anymore. Like one of my favorite TV shows, Superstore, ended after season 6, and that's long for now. We don't get to season 6s on TV anymore.
Oh, well, even don't get me started. Even that with I've just sort of discovered Gunsmoke. They'd have like 2650 episodes a season. Where I'm a Marvel fan. What six episodes? What are you kidding me? You know. But if you're any kind of Little House on the Prairie fan, totally go off on a tangent here. And this is just totally arbitrary here, but like I think it's in the National Archives. It's one of the Smithsonian buildings. You can see the actual deed or plot ownership, whatever the contract is called, of the Ingalls house or estate in the
That's
Little
so
House
cool.
in the Prairie. I thought so. I know that sounds maybe
No.
boring to so many, but to actually look at it, to me, that's kind of like a constitution in the pop
Yeah.
culture world. But see, I'll go deeper into it. I'll start reading. I'll go to Wikipedia.
The Wikipedia binges, I call them, where I end up on one page to another.
Ooh, I like that.
Because that's like how I've learned about most of my Marvel facts is through Wikipedia.
Well, you're not quite as old as I am. I was there when but yeah, little things like Laura Ingalls. There was a storyline. She's getting married to Alonzo, but he was too old because he was like 20 or 18, and she was like 16 or what have you. Yeah, in the book she was like 14 or 15, and they started courting like that young. And cultures and mores change over the years. Depending on how you want to define quickly, over 50 years, 100 years. But yeah, back then it was normal that if you said there was a 15-year-old dating, a whatever-year-old now, it's horrific. They ended up being married for like, gosh, well into their 90s till they died. And it was like a solid relationship where they, it's a Little House on the Prairie. They went through like sandstorms and poverties and depressions and wars and stuff. And yeah, all that. And they didn't have any internet, nothing. It was horrible. But anyway, so sorry, you tapped a nostalgic nerve. Yeah, thank you so much for submitting your film with us. It's a wonderful film. I hope people were able to enjoy it. Again, shameless plug, they can still enjoy it on the VOD platform if they want to watch all of today's films, including Cupcake. And as a weird aside, I want to say it's the first time ever we received 2 short films entitled Cupcake.
I
I don't know
did.
if you
I was
saw
like,
that.
we have cupcakes so many, we
Yeah.
got to name them by director.
Yeah, so you get extra shout outs because of that. And the 2 films couldn't be more drastically different. Well, maybe there is a little bit of sexual angst in there, to be sure, but yeah, totally different pacing, totally different beats, and totally different people. So thank you so much. Wonderful film, and it's been great catching up with you, even though it's like tap world. Where's my finger on this weird thing that's happening here? I hope you are well, and I really look forward to seeing you next time face to face when the world opens up. I hope I just hope everything great for you.
Thank
to be at the
you.
end of the day.
Thank you for having me be a part
So-
of the festival. This is one of my favorites to get to be a part of, especially because recurringly I get to
Yay.
like see everyone, and it's like a mini film community in this area. So it's really great to catch up, and yeah, so excited to see you again in person, whether I'm submitting a script competition or an actual film again. Yeah.
Please do.
So-
Well, you bring quality stuff, so I hope you
Thank you.
continue to, and we'll do whatever we can to support you and help you be awesomer. Okay. Well, take care. Have a good evening, Catherine, and catch you next time.
See you around.
Okay. Bye-bye. Take care. Bye-bye.